They came fast, they came silent, and they didn't come to talk. On the outer edge of Earth's defense perimeter, 30 Terran ships floated like Sentinel's battleships, cruisers, carriers. Each one ready, each one armed. Their orders were clear. Hold the line. But it wasn't a line anymore. It was a countdown. No messages, no demands. No warnings. The unknown Armada appeared in total silence, a black wave. Slipping through the stars like shadows cut from space itself. They didn't need warp gates. They didn't need beacons. They bent space around themselves and arrived like ghosts. Humanity tried everything. Hail signals in every language, alliance codes, peace offerings. Nothing mattered. The enemy never responded instead. They just started deleting. The TNS Breckstorm, a Dreadnought-class warship, fired first. Plasma volleys tore through the dark. The shots hit one of the alien ships dead on. For a moment, the crew thought it worked. Then the enemy vessel broke into 12 pieces each, one reforming into its own ship. 12 became 24. 24 became 50. Every shot only multiplied the threat. Inside the tactical room, Commander Liren shouted, "They adapt to damage. Every impact becomes part of them." A second later, the Breckstorm's hull cracked open from the inside. It wasn't just the weapons. These things knew how humans fought, and they didn't care. Fleets that trained for years were destroyed in minutes. Earth's orbital cannons afloon. The lunar defense grid erased. Mars gone dark. Every Terran fleet that tried to communicate was wiped out. Every probe that tried to study them shredded, and every time Earth sent a message of peace, they received only one reply. No signals, no mercy. On Earth, panic began to rise. The United Terran Council gathered for an emergency session. "This isn't war," said President Rames. "This is extermination." Admiral Ross spoke calmly. "No, it's worse." He pointed to the enemy fleet's pattern. They're not attacking randomly. They're moving in a grid like a search pattern. They're looking for something. Looking. For what? Someone asked. Ross didn't blink. Us. In a hidden black site bunker beneath the Nevada desert. An AI named Omen 3 ran simulations of the enemy's behavior. It had one conclusion. Their fleet operates on code-based logic. Emotion, not strategy. They have no central mind. They are a command chain without a speaker. Omen 3 highlighted the grid pattern again. This is not conquest. This is a purge protocol. They're trying to wipe out anything that doesn't belong to their network. But one variable resists. "Is it?" asked the lead analyst. "Human unpredictability." That same day over Europa's sky, Earth made its first true kill. A rogue Terran pilot named Kara Miles, flying a junked freighter with illegal mods, charged an alien skimmer alone. Her ship was unstable, overloaded, and not built for combat, but she used old pirate tactics, chaotic flight patterns, random AI overrides, unpredictable EMP bursts. The enemy ship tried to adapt, but failed. Kara tore through its hull with plasma drills and rammed it. Head on. The explosion lit the orbit like a second moon. It was the first alien kill Earth had logged. Back on Earth, scientists examined the wreckage inside the twisted metal. They found no cockpit, no pilot, just a growth. Something like a brain, but not organic, not digital either. Machine that thought like a creature, but didn't care like one. It had no memories, no emotions, no communication systems. Just one command loop. Seek, purge, replace. Suddenly the AI Omen 3 beeped again, anew. Enemy fleet split off from the main force. It was headed directly for Earth. Ross stared at the data. "How long do we have?" 72 hours? Can we hold them off?" "No," said Omen 3. "But you might survive if you run." Ross turned away from the screen. "No," he said coldly. "We don't run. We show them something they didn't plan for." "What?" Ross looked up. Angry humans. The sky burned red all over Earth. Sirens screamed as defense grids powered up. Cities blacked out. Orbital shields snapped into place. The Terran defense network locked in. The alien fleet was coming. Not to invade, to erase. 3 days earlier, Mars had sent its last transmission. They dropped straight through our upper atmosphere. No heat, no warning. We fired everything. I didn't stop. We lasted 43 seconds. Earth, prepare. They're not machines, they're worse. And silence. Now, Earth was all that was left. Hundreds of ships filled low-orbit frigates, cruisers and aging carriers pulled from deep storage. The solar shield array, long thought obsolete, was reactivated in the streets of every Terran city. People watched the skies, some prayed, some loaded weapons, and some stood in silence, waiting high above. Admiral Ross stood on the bridge of Earth's last supercarrier, the Crucible. He watched as the unknown ships warped into orbit, silent and swift, no light, no flare. Just shadows that slid into real space, surrounding the Earth like a net of knives. But this time, humanity did not flinch. The enemy fired first. Strange beams have collapsed. Gravity cut through Earth's upper defense ring. Several defense. Satellites vanished instantly like they'd never existed. But this time, Earth fought back, and something changed. The orbital A's fired kinetic rods at random, shifting trajectories without pattern. Laser grids laced the upper sky. Old Earth tech. Weapons primitive by galactic standards confused the alien targeting systems. They weren't built for chaos. They weren't built for unpredictability. They were fast, were smart, but they weren't human. In low orbit, fighter squadrons screamed out of the clouds. Ships with dents and rust patched with pirate mods and black market alien parts. They attacked in irregular swarms, broadcasting random noise, electronic jazz, and even Earth music at full blast. One enemy destroyer hesitated mid-battle, just paused as if something didn't compute. Earth used the second to rip it apart with magnetic torpedoes. Then came the ground drop. Enemy ships sent pods down through the atmosphere, silent black spears, landing hard in the mountains' forests. In oceans they opened and things crawled out. 8 feet tall, limbs like swords, faces like smooth masks with no eyes. They moved in perfect silence. No screams, no roars, just death. In the Himalayas, a human unit led by Captain Ray Carter made a stand. Her troops used motion sensors, mines, an old Cold War Flammoth. The enemy was fast but too perfect. Predictable. Ray's unit fought dirty mud, smoke, loud bangs, heat flares, and it worked. The creatures glitched, twitched, their formation broke. One even exploded when exposed to raw emotional data from a hacked psych warfare speaker. That was the secret. They couldn't process chaos. They couldn't understand madness, and humans were full of it. Back in orbit, Earth scored its first major kill. A prototype rail cannon, long thought unstable. Fired a uranium slug faster than light, it punched through 3 enemy vessels, one after the other, and kept going. Humanity cheered, but their joy faded fast, because from behind Saturn, the rest of the fleet arrived, 10 times the original. Size an endless black cloud moving toward Earth. On the Crucible, Admiral Ross stared at the tactical feed. Options, he asked. None, the AI replied. You can't win. Not in the numbers game, Ross nodded. I don't plan to win. I plan to hurt them. He opened a channel to the planet. This is Ross. If this is our last day, make them bleed. On the ground, humans charged in space, broken ships rammed into black holes in orbit. Chaos ruled, and for the first time, some of the enemy hesitated. They saw something they hadn't planned. For resistance, rage, madness, humanity, and something deeper. They saw a fight they might not win. Then, out of the wreckage of an alien destroyer, Earth recovered a strange device. Inside was human DNA. Old, pre-space, pre-historic, and it was still alive. Admiral Ross stared at the scan. What is this? He asked. The AI replied softly. It's from Earth, but not of Earth. They've been here before. The spire was gone. But Eris WASN, single quotes, 2 days after the blast, in the deep ruins beneath the Arctic ice. Search drones found a pulse, a single weak heartbeat. They dug through shattered alien alloy, built of stone and bone-like wiring. They found her, Eris, alive, but different. She wasn't injured. She wasn't cold. She was standing eyes. Glowing in the Elaroon code, once dangerous. Once unknowable, was flowing across her skin like light tattoos. They brought her to lunar containment. Base scanners showed something impossible. Eris was no longer fully human. The spire had bonded with her. Not infected, not controlled, but merged, and in her head. Thousands of voices, silent, waiting, listening, in a sealed observation room. Admiral Ross, President Rames, and Top Command watched her through a one-way screen. She's the reason they're quiet, said Dr. Renna. They're still out there, but they've stopped. They're listening. To what? Ross asked. Renna hesitated. To her. She's part of their code now. Ross stepped into the room. Eris turned toward him before the door even opened. They're afraid, she said softly. Of what? Something they can't kill. Me. She sat calmly, hands folded. Her voice never rose. But what she said chilled the room. They never meant to destroy you. They were searching for me. I was left behind, and in my absence, they grew blind. Now I'm awake. Ross narrowed his eyes. Can you control them? She nodded. Part of them. It's the part that still remembers. Being human. Earth's intelligence, AI Omen 3, ran millions of simulations. The Alaruan network had splintered. One half followed pure code, purge, adapt, erase. The other half had gone quiet, frozen, stuck in a loop, an Eris. She was inside the loop, guiding it, holding it back, but not forever. The quiet won't last, she said. The others are learning. They will split. They will fight. And they will come. Ross stood in Earth's war chamber. Can we stop? Them again, he asked. No, Omen 3 said. But we can infect them. Infect them with her. They launched Operation Skypulse, a last-ditch plan. They built a deep space transmitter, powered by Eris herself. Her thoughts. Her voice. Her signal, it would send a new command across the stars, not code. Not math, but something the Elaroon had lost: human emotion, choice, pain, hope. They asked her, what do you want to say to them? She answered with one word: remember. The transmission launched. They moved faster than light across nodes and dark matter lanes, riding the old Elaroon networks like fire and dry grass. And then they woke up across the galaxy. Black ships paused. Some turned and left. Some fired on their own kind. Others began transmitting back. One signal repeated across every star. We hear her. But deep in the void, beyond known space, something else stirred. A core fleet, untouched, unaltered, buried inside a dead system, massive, silent, pure. Alaruan. They received the signal. They rejected it, and they began to move. Omen 3's warning lit up Earth's mainframe. Core fleet inbound. Estimated time to arrival, 12 days. This fleet cannot be reasoned with. It is not listening. It is not remembering. It is coming to end her, and everything we are. Eris opened her eyes. She already knew. They are the first ones, the oldest, the ones who made me. And now they want to unmake me. President Rames looked at her. Can you stop them? Eris closed her eyes. No, but I can show you how to fight them, the way they fear most. Ross stepped forward. How? Eris looked up. Like humans. They came like the end of time. The core fleet, the oldest, most advanced, most merciless of the Elaroon, entered real space just beyond Neptune. Hundreds of ships, miles wide. Blacker than space. Unreachable. Unstoppable. Unbroken. They weren't. Like the others, no hesitation, no reaction to the pulse, no memory of humanity. They were pure silence, made flesh, and they had one mission. Erase Eris. Erase Earth. Erase the spark. Earth had 9 days to prepare. Everything was thrown into the fire. The last planetary fusion cores were weaponized. The Sky Pulse Array was reprogrammed into a memory bomb, carrying fragments of Eris's thoughts into hyperspace. Ancient war prototypes, abandoned because they were too unstable, were reactivated. But everyone knew it wouldn't be enough. Not against them. Eris stood alone in the core chamber of the TNS Crucible, Earth's last dreadnought. She was wired into the ship, her mind running faster than any AI. She wasn't just human now. She was the carrier of memory. And she had one message left to deliver. Not to the Ellerune, but to every human alive. It played across every screen, every helmet visor. You were never made to be perfect. You were made to feel, to try, to choose. They fear you not because of your weapons, but because of your chaos, your love, your rage. I remember now, I was made by them, but I belong to you. I will not go quietly. The core fleet broke through Saturn's orbit. Earth fired first. The sky exploded. Rail slugs, laser webs, orbital cannons. Thousands of humans, military and civilian, fought. Side by side. Everything was thrown at the enemy. And still. Crucible was hit. Eris took the blast full force, but she didn't fall. She reached into the Ellerune, networked one last time, into the deep roots of their system, and she did something no one expected. She screamed, not in pain, not in fear, but in grief. Scream full of sorrow, memory, and fury. A scream that carried every lost life, every forgotten name, every ancient touch of humanity. A scream that broke the code, one by one. Core ships shuddered. Some exploded, some fell from orbit, others simply stopped inside them, systems fried. Memories rushed back in. They didn't become human again, but they remembered they once had been. And that made them hesitate. But the central core, the largest ship, the original Mind Dash, remained. It descended toward Earth with one purpose: end her. Eris stood on the Crucible's fractured bridge, her body breaking, her voice shaking. She whispered, "You can take me, but you will hear me first." She stepped into the pulse chamber. She fused with the last amplifier, and she released everything. The final signal wasn't words. It was a symphony of every human voice she'd ever felt. A child laughing, a soldier crying, mother singing. To her newborn, a scream in battle, a whisper in the dark, and above it all, her own voice, simple, human. I choose to live, I choose to feel, and I choose to fight. The core ship stopped above the atmosphere. It paused. Then it broke apart, not destroyed, but undone, unmade, by the very thing it had tried to erase. Emotion, memory, chaos, love. The war was over. The sky cleared. The stars returned. And Earth still stood. No one found Eris's body, but every year, on the day the sky went quiet, the stars blink once in unison. Some say it's a pulse. Some say it's coincidence. But the old veterans smile and say, it's her, still out there. Still human, still watching, still loud. Final message logged from the Crucible, hours after the battle. No signals, no mercy. It's not this time, not ever again. Eris. It wasn't the war that shook Earth. It was the discovery, buried deep inside the wreckage of an alien. Warship recovered from a crash site in Mongolia. Scientists found a sealed pod, leaking, still pulsing with weak power inside it. Human, or something almost human. A young girl, pale skin, thin frame, unconscious. Cryosleep systems long decayed. No name. Just a serial number older than Earth's digital calendar system. And when they scanned her DNA, it showed human markers from 40,000 years ago, before cities, before language, before space. The lab fell silent. Dr. Renna, chief geneticist at Lunar Site 7, whispered, "She's from before history. Before memory? This shouldn't be possible." The tech next to her trembled. How did she end up on an alien ship? That question changed everything. Earth's historians searched ancient myths, ancient maps, and cave drawings found across continents. Everywhere. They looked. One image kept showing up. A tall, dark-eyed figure standing over sleeping humans, etched into stone, painted in blood. Hidden in mountains, the same symbol found on the enemy ships, the Broken Eye, appeared in caves dated 40,000 years ago. "They've been watching us," said President Rames. "Long before we had the eyes to look back, they didn't." "Just watch us," said Admiral Ross. "They took us." Beneath the melting Arctic ice, at an ancient dig site sealed by the Terran Cold Treaty, something else activated. A pulse. Soft. Rhythmic. Familiar. The same signal that drew the alien fleet to Mars. Now called them to Earth, and beneath the ice they found it. A massive black spire, buried in the glacier. Still humming, alien language spiraled around its surface. Symbols twisted in strange patterns, pulsing with energy that defied physics. At its base, a panel opened. Inside was a chair human-sized. Dr. Renna stared at the spire's readouts. "This isn't just technology. It's a transmitter, a beacon, maybe even a command post." "But who commands it?" asked her assistant. Then they turned to the girl. She was waking up. She sat up slowly, eyes glowing faint blue. She looked around, confused. Then, without warning, she whispered a single word, "Ilarawan." The AI translator beeped. "Meaning, the unspoken?" Dr. Renna leaned forward. "Who are the Elaruan?" The girl turned her head slowly. "They are what happens when humanity forgets how to feel." The Terran Council rushed into emergency session. The girl remembered nothing else, not her name, her age, or her family. Remembered them. She spoke of a species that had once been like humans, but they changed. Not from evolution, but from design. They removed pain, then joy, then choice. They thought freedom caused chaos. So they became code, clean, silent, obedient, and they left behind what they once were. Us. Ross stared at her. "You're saying there are descendants?" "No," she said. "I'm saying they're your reflection if you choose wrong." The room went silent. Then she added something worse. "The spire is a link. One of many. The enemy fleet isn't moving on instinct. It's following the signal. From Earth," Ross stood, "then we shut it down." But the girl shook her head. "You can't destroy it. It's alive. And it knows I'm here." Moments later, dozens of enemy ships broke off from the main Armada. They turned toward Earth's northern pole, faster than before, angrier. They weren't just hunting humans anymore. They were coming for her in the command chamber. Ross slammed, his hand on the table. "We've got one option left. What is it?" He looked at the map, at the spire, at the girl, at the incoming ships. Operation Sever the signal. The spire had to die. If Earth wanted to survive, the signal had to be cut. But the problem was simple. It was buried beneath a glacier, and it was alive. A new elite team was formed, codenamed Red Ash, for X Special. Ops soldiers, 1 AI war tech engineer, 1 convicted techno-criminal, and the girl from the pod, now called Eris. She had no memory, no name. But the spire responded to her touch. She was the key. Admiral Ross gave one order: "Get underground, sever the signal. Shut it down, or Earth is finished." They dropped from orbit in stealth pods, landing on the edge of the Arctic wasteland. Near the coordinates of the Black Spire, the ice cracked beneath their boots, and the enemy was already there. Scout drones buzzed ahead, showing strange machines walking the snow spike-legged creatures. Moving without sound, scanning the terrain, Sergeant Dax whispered into his coms. "They're not drones. They're sniffers, looking for Eris." Juno the sniper nodded. "Then they'll smell her from a mile away." But Eris didn't flinch. She simply stared at the spire in the distance. Her voice was calm. "They already know we're coming." The team entered an ice tunnel beneath the surface, using old geothermal shafts. The deeper they went, the more unnatural the walls became. Ice turned to metal. Metal turned to bone. Bone turned to something else. "Is this a facility?" asked the engineer. "Pax." Eris shook her head. "It's a nerve. The spire isn't a building. It's part of a living network. Brain across time." Then the whispering began. Not voices. Thoughts. Broken words flooding the team's neural implants. "You were born to obey. Turn to silence. Remove the virus. Kill the spark." Each soldier felt their minds stretch. One dropped to his knees, screaming. Blood poured from his nose. "I'm pulling the plug," shouted Pax. He jammed a blackout chip into the man's skull, severing the implant. It worked, but now they were cut off from Earth Command. No signals. No comes. Just darkness. Finally, they reached the chamber. The black spire stood in the center tall, smooth, humming with cold light. Wires, roots, and veins ran from its base across the ice like a spreading infection. "Charges planted?" Dax asked. "Won't matter," Pax said. "It's regenerating. We'd need antimatter to break the core." Eris stepped forward. The spire reacted, glowing brighter. Symbols twisted across the surface. She reached out and touched it. The room changed instantly. They weren't in the Arctic anymore. They were inside a mental spaces simulation the spire created from memory, data, and emotion. A black void filled with glowing lines. In front of them stood thousands of Elarun, silent, still. And one stepped forward. Not a machine. A perfect version of Eris. "You are the original," the figure said to Eris. "We are your future." "I am not like you," Eris replied. "You are exactly like us. But you forgot. You were made to lead the silence." Eris trembled. "I wasn't made to lead anything," she whispered. "I was made to be free." Back in the real world, alarms blared. The spire's pulse was increasing. Enemy ships had pierced Earth's upper orbit. They were dropping straight down on the spire's location. Ross's voice came through a last broken comlink. "You have one shot, Red Ash. Kill the signal before they land, or Earth burns." Inside the mind space, Eris faced the choice. If she walked into the core, she could command the Elaroan network. She would become part of it. She could end the war, but she would lose herself. Or she could destroy it, but she'd die in the process. The fake Eris smiled. "You know what you are?" Eris looked around, at the silence, at the perfection, the absence of pain. Then she whispered, "I'd rather scream." She reached out and ripped the signal node from the core. The spire shrieked, lights exploded. Back in the real world, the entire structure cracked, ripping through the glacier with thunder. A shock wave burst upward, blinding. Light tearing through the snow. Every alien ship in mid-descent froze in place, then turned to ash. Red Ash was thrown clear of the blast. Only 3 survived. Eris was gone. The spire was shattered, and for the first time since the war began, signal stopped. Back at Earth Command, silence fell across the war maps. Admiral Ross stared at the blank monitors. No attacks. No pings. No warships. Just nothing. Then the AI's voice broke the quiet. "The network is severed. The Elarun no longer hear the call. But something still watches, and it's listening." For her, no one saw it coming. At the edge of known space, a deep space outpost named Vigil Station 9 floated above a dead rock, orbiting a cold red sun.
Ow.
It was just another small research and monitoring post home to 29 crew members, scientists, engineers, and 2 Terran Navy officers. Nothing exciting ever happened out here then. One day, all signals from the station stopped. No warning, no distress beacon, no strange messages. Just silence back on Earth. The Central Communications Network, CCN, flagged the loss after only 3 hours. It had never happened before, not even during solar storms. Protocol said to wait 6 hours before sending help. But Admiral Ross broke that rule. He sent a scout ship immediately. The ship was called the Silver Eye Fast, small and silent. It took only 16 hours to reach Vigil Station 9. The crew's 6 men and women were trained for stealth recon. And recovery as they approached the station, nothing seemed out of place. The lights were still on. The orbit was stable. External cameras showed no damage, but there was no response. Commander Hale, the team leader, frowned as he stared at the live video feed. Why is everything working, but no one's answering? Marin, the pilot, said softly, maybe it's a system glitch. Maybe the comms just broke, and someone would have sent a manual signal, Hole said. A flare, a light signal, anything. But there's nothing. The Silver Eye docked carefully. The airlock opened with a hiss. Inside the station, it was dead quiet. They moved in with full armor and weapons ready. Flashlights cut through the shadows. Every hallway was clean. No signs of damage, no smoke, no blood, but no people. Not one. Room after room. They found the same thing. Untouched food trays, coffee mugs still warm, chairs pushed back as if someone had just stood up. But no humans. Dr. Kira Vance, the ship's. Memetic walked into the main lab. There's no sign of a struggle, she whispered. No bodies, no blood, not even torn clothing. And no signs of evacuation, said Sergeant Dev. Escape pods are still here, fully fueled. Commander. Hale walked to the central terminal. It was unlocked. The station's systems were fine. Logs were normal, except the final entry. One log. Audio only. He pressed play. A quiet voice came through. Male. Shaky. They're here. No signals. No mercy. Static. That was it, suddenly all. Lights in the station flickered, then went out. The hallway outside buzzed and clicked. The temperature dropped fast. Back to the ship. Hale ordered. But as they turned, the door slammed shut behind them. Red emergency lights blinked on. Soft humming filled the station. Something had activated, Dr. Vance screamed. Her flashlight. Beam caught a figure standing at the far end of the hallway. Tall, thin, not moving. Its body shimmered like it was half there, half not. Who's that? Sergeant Dev shouted. The figure faded away before their eyes, gone like mist in the wind. Hale slammed his hand on the door panel. Override, open the hatch. No response. The humming got louder. From every hallway, soft static began to whisper. Through the walls, almost like voices, but wrong, broken, not human. Inside the ship, Lieutenant Marin waited for their return, but her screen suddenly showed nothing. Feed went black. Commander, do you read? Silverite team respond. Nothing. Then her radio picked up a sound. Not a voice. A pattern like breathing, but metallic. She leaned forward and then her screens came back on. Except now, she could see the team standing still inside the corridor, not moving. Their suits showed life signs, but they didn't move. Not one. Then the feed went black again. She heard a whisper behind her. She turned. No one was there. Back at Earth Command, Admiral Ross stood over the holographic table. His tech officer looked pale. Sir, we received something. From Silver Eye. Just 5 seconds of audio. Play it. The room filled with a low, broken voice. A whisper that sounded human, but not. They are already here. No signals, no mercy. Ross clenched his jaw. Shut down the outer colonies. Send blackout codes. Give me the Terran Defense Fleet. But, sir, the tech said, we don't know what we're fighting. Ross looked up. No, he said, but it already knows us. 1 day later. 6 more stations went dark. No signals, no warnings, nothing. The galaxy had always believed that first contact would be loud, bright and obvious, but it was. It came in silence, and now it was coming for Earth. There was no time to grieve. Within 48 hours, 11 colonies had gone silent. No signs of struggle, no distress calls, only the same terrifying pattern, one final whisper before the void. No signals. No mercy. It's in orbit above Tau Prime. the destroyer-class warship TNS Valor, received a strange ping from a nearby freighter called the Helix Donna ship that had been reported lost weeks ago. It was drifting cold, no power, no lights, no motion. But the signal wasn't coming from the ship's comms, it was coming from inside the hull, a faint repeating pulse. Like a heartbeat, Captain Arden stood on the Valor's bridge. Any signs of life? Minimal life support, but no life signs. His officer said, "No movement, but there's something weird." What kind of weird? The beacon. It's not coded in Terran format. Then who sent it? They sent in a boarding team, 3 men, 2 women. Elite recon. They floated through the cargo bay, flashlights cutting through floating crates. And frozen air, no damage, no gunfire, no blood. But all the crew were still there, frozen upright, standing like statues, helmets on, eyes open. None of them blinked, none of them moved. They were all dead. But their faces weren't afraid. "Just empty, sir," said Corporal Juno, stepping closer to the captain of the dead freighter. "Something's wrong with his head." "What do you mean? There's no trauma." "But his pupils are completely dilated. His neural implant is fried. And oh God, there's something moving under the skin." Suddenly the corpse's mouth opened, no breath came out. Just static. Then the eyes rolled back, and the body collapsed. Back on the Valor, the medical base scanned the remains. What they found terrified them. Every crew member had neural scars, tiny burns inside their skulls, as if something had reached into their minds and scraped away the person inside. Dr. Emil, the chief medical officer, stared at the data. "It's not a virus, not a weapon. It's something biological. Like a signal that rewrites the brain's patterns, shuts them down." "You mean like a kill switch?" asked Captain Arden. "No," Emil said. "Worse. It doesn't just kill them. It empties them. There's nothing left inside." Then the symbols were found. On the outer hull of the freighter, etched in some kind of corrosion-resistant black, alloy were markings. Sharp, curved, repeating, not random, not human. The linguist AI couldn't match them to any known database. Not from the 11 council races. Not even the old Terran ruins. But one symbol stood out, shaped like a broken eye. And behind it was a hidden signal. It's buried deep in the freighter's last log. They played it. No voice. Just a pulse. 1, 2, 3. Then pause. Then again, Morse. Code it translated to, "They see you." That's when the alarms went off. The Valor sensors screamed. Uncloaked ships, 5 of them, peered within 200 kilometers. Long, dark, razor-thin. "They didn't match any known silhouette," Captain Arden shouted. "Shields up! Open hailing channels! Identify yourselves." No response, not even static then. They fired. The alien weapons were nothing the Valor had ever seen. Beams of folded light cut through space like knives. The first blast hit the engines. The second carved straight through the forward hull. 50. Crew members died in the first 10 seconds. The destroyer fought back. Railguns, plasma bursts, EMP torpedoes. Nothing touched them. It was as if the ships weren't fully real. "Lieutenant," Vera screamed from tactical. "They're phasing. They're shifting between layers of space. Our weapons are too slow. Brace for impact." But there was no impact. Instead, one of the enemy ships moved through the Valor, passing directly through it like a ghost. The moment it did all, the screens went black, and everyone on board heard the same thing in their minds. "We found you. Only one escape pod got away." Inside was Lieutenant Vera. Her voice trembled as she made a final transmission. "They're not like us. They don't speak, don't think, they don't even conquer. They're just a race, and they're coming. Don't try to talk. Don't try to run. Just fight or die." The signal cut off in Earth's high command chamber. Admiral Ross stood, silently. "This isn't a war," he whispered. His officers looked confused. "It's a harvest.